Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Don't Forget to Tap. I'm Chris, and today we're going to be talking about something that one of my jiu-jitsu coaches talks about a lot. Especially, I think it applies to me a lot, and I guess it's a cultural thing within jiu-jitsu, and probably I would say most martial arts. Especially in the beginning, I think a lot of white belts are kind of known for it, and again, that's just by kind of listening and adapting to the culture and everything like that. So one of the reoccurring themes that I keep hearing a lot, and it's something that I'm working on and very conscious of, is don't use power to replace technique. So don't try to muscle your way through situations. And I didn't realize how important that lesson was, and I'll kind of talk about towards the end of the episode how that kind of applies to life, really. But one thing that I think is really, really important is when you're going into something is not trying to be a brute and getting through it. So I was at class the other night and we were learning a new technique, and it's when you're down on your back and you're down in the half guard and everything, or you have somebody in your half guard, and you know you're learning to reach over with the opposite hand. You go over their shoulder and you grab the back of their elbow, and you kind of set up for a Kimura, which is, if you're not familiar with what that is, ultimately it's like twisting somebody's arm behind their back and making them say uncle, except with a tap, right? And it's wicked. It hurts. It gets really spicy really quickly, but it's an awesome technique to know, and it just takes a lot of practice. And, one thing that I was really grateful for, there was a couple awesome things that happened the other night. We got a newer student that started coming, and his name is Bruce, and he's actually, and I don't know his exact age, but he's in his 70s, and he started training jujitsu. And when I see people that are a little bit older, that are doing jujitsu, I typically think they've been doing it for a long time. But that's what I think is so cool about Bruce, is that he has taken on this new challenge in his life. He's not using his age as an excuse. He's not using it as a crutch. He came out, he he put in work. I mean, he was crazy strong. He was, whenever the coach was teaching the new technique, he was moving around to make sure he got the best angle on it and make sure that he understood it. Just a complete beast of a human, and it's so cool. And I have so much respect for Bruce, and I think everybody there did. And it's definitely inspiring in the sense that I have no excuse anytime I find myself like limping around or hurt. And then you see, Bruce out there just getting it. It doesn't leave a lot of excuses for me. So um, we were kind of in class and we were learning stuff. And one thing that I consider myself a fairly strong individual. I work out, I do whatever. And one thing that I've kind of noticed is that when I find myself in a difficult situation, it's easy for me to just want to pin the person's arm down, or to kind of throw them, or how I want them to be or whatever. And um, the lesson in that, and it's just become this reoccurring theme. And I'm so thankful, before I move on, I'm so thankful that I have the professors that I do, the coaches that I do, and the sparring partners that I do, because a lot of them have been around for a little bit and they teach me so much about it so quickly, and they really help me refine the technique. And a lot of times, after we're done rolling, if I find myself in that situation where, I get frustrated and I want out of the situation, I don't want to get choked, whatever, I will use an excessive amount of strength to get there. And whenever we're done, I'm gassed. I'm just absolutely tired. I'm exhausted and I can't breathe. And, it's just, I'm worn out. And then I'll look at my partner, and the more experienced, person, and they're not tired at all. They're not sweating. They're not really, they didn't put near the amount of effort. And what I've kind of learned in that, and I realized very quickly that I am going to either A, build up an insane cardiovascular system, or B, I've got to be smarter about how I do this. And so what I came to kind of realize with it is that I have to slow down. I have to focus on the technique, that I can't be a brute the whole way through, and I can't just try to muscle my way through or power my way through the techniques, and because that's not going to do anything. And there's a reason why, and this is why I have so much respect for jujitsu. This isn't the only reason, but it's a huge part of it, is that you can have, somebody that's 5'4" and 20 pounds less than you, but if they're experienced in jujitsu and technique, they're going to wipe the floor with you. You stand no chance against that person. And I've seen that personally with my own eyes. I'm not the person that gets to deliver that, but I've definitely seen um, that work in many situations against, small person to big person, and it's just really something to see. So, uh, and let it be known too that I'm also the person. This is something that I deal with in my everyday life. Is I when I get frustrated, I typically just try to power my way through it, and I'll use video games for example. I'm not a huge video game person, but when I play video games like Call of Duty or something like that, I typically just run into the fight, guns blaze, not a whole lot of strategy, not a whole lot of technique. I just ran in, and as you could probably imagine, I don't survive very long. I take a couple guys with me, but I'm definitely good at going in and kind of stirring the pot a little bit, and then everyone else falls through after I've already kind of caused the damage that I've done. So, but yeah, so I think learning to slow down in life, it's this huge opportunity to learn to slow down and learn the technique, learn to breathe, and I think translating that into life a little bit, what that does is it allows you to learn as you go. It allows you the ability to not get exhausted in the things that you're doing, and it allows you to grow in the process. I think a lot of times in life, I tend to power through. I think we do as people. I think we power through all the time, and we just try to focus on getting through the situation, or just powering our way through. And I think it's only when you really slow down to learn the technique and you focus on the technique and the things that it has to offer, that's where you're going to grow. And you're also, when you're sparring with another person, you're leading other people, you're going to give them the autonomy because they know what it's like to have proper technique applied, and so they're going to be able to grow because of that as well, and they're going to learn how to kind of adjust and create their own style in that transition process as well. I think whenever, good substitute or analogy in this situation, we're talking about power and trying to use that to overcome, your adversary. I think another situation that is extremely relevant in is if you walk into a leadership role, or you walk into a new position, and or maybe you're taking over a team, or maybe it could be anything, or maybe you're just becoming part of a new team, and you come in and you try to use your power or your rank or your position or your title or your income or whatever it might be, and you try to come in and you try to use that as your credibility, and you let that be your true north in that situation. You'll let that be the positional leadership that you have, that you're expecting people to follow you with. Then you might be able to get it through a couple situations, but you're going to be exhausted when it's all said and done, because you're going to have to fight a whole lot harder. And B is that you're not actually growing in the process, and therefore you're not letting anybody else grow in that process either. And so it's so relevant that you slow down, you take the time to apply proper technique. And technique in that scenario is your attitude, your perceptions, the way that you react to things, your general perception of what is happening, and the way you're treating people, and how we're going about it as well. So it's definitely something that's very, very important to consider, to take into account, to look into, and make sure that in life you're not using power as a substitute for technique. And at the end of the class the other night for jujitsu, the coach kind of captured on it a little bit, and he was like, just really make sure. And it wasn't to just me, but it was probably aimed at me. But it was, to the class, about just not using power and not gassing yourself out. And, in tournaments, that can really be the difference between getting, to the next advancement, and, doing well in the tournament and everything. And the coach also talked about, and I like analogies a lot. If you haven't picked up on that, the coach also talked about how jujitsu is kind of like learning a new language, and I think this also applies to life. Is that in the beginning you learn a couple words. You might learn how to say hi, thank you, whatever. If you're like my friends, they teach you the bad words, and but I think over time, if you keep practicing, you keep using it, you keep applying it, then you start to form a sentence. Maybe you got a sentence down, maybe you can do two sentences. And then you start to practice, and then you start to integrate a little bit and you start using the language with people that are very fluent in the language. And that's what really builds you, right? It's uncomfortable because they already know more than you. They can, speak circles around you, they can roll circles around you, they can lead circles around you, whatever the situation might call for. But by using that person's expertise, that subject matter expert, and allowing them to use that language with you and help you grow, you're going to learn more of the formal process of it. You're going to be able to grow through it. And you're going to know more because of it. And it's going to feel like defeat a lot of times, but it's not. It's very, 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 very much a different thing whenever you're using that ability to learn and grow. So be humble in that process as well. Again, this is me documenting my process through this whole transition. And like I said, I've learned so much about life through this process and just learning jujitsu, that it's inspiring and it really motivates me to get up and get after it. And I'm looking forward to training tonight and next week when I'm on the road. I found a place that's going to let me come train in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I'm really excited to come out and meet with them, see what they can teach me, and be very humble walking through those doors because, again, I'm a beginner in this process. And that's something that I'm always going to be at peace with. I think no matter how far I climb in this, no matter how far I go, I'm always going to consider myself a student in it, and a beginner, if anything, because I think that no matter what you do, it's reapplying the lessons over and over and over, and being able to um, allow yourself to be humble in that process. So, uh, the biggest advice I could give you, the best advice I could give you is don't power your way through situations because you will find yourself exhausted. And not only that, is when you substitute power for lack of technique, that technique is something that is going to help people grow. It's the ability to slow down and work through the process and allow yourself to analyze what is happening and your approach towards it versus just trying to come out and making people do what you want them to do because you feel like that, or you might have the ability to make them do it in that moment, but that is absolutely going to exhaust you because you're going to keep fighting that battle over and over, and you're going to find yourself in a situation where nobody on the team is growing, so you stay stagnant, and that's a whole nother type of exhaustion as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys are doing really well. I can't wait to get some guests on here. I've already talked to a few individuals that are pretty motivated to jump on and everything. And I just want to take the time to thank you guys for listening in the first place. I know jiu-jitsu is not for everybody, but I think that it has a lot to offer. And just being able to talk life with people is a lot of fun and inspiring too. So thank you guys for listening again. Don't forget to tap, and I'll talk to you guys next time.